All right, we are recording. Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land, this is Sam Dennehy, aka Halfass Customs, and this is Halfass Presents, the podcast. Tonight's special guest, Greg Dixon. A lot of you know him. He's a great caster, makes his own molds and basically his own product, which is really cool. I consider him right up there with Lou Wee making bunch of the old kits from Jordan that isn't produced anymore, and Greg Dixon's making his own version of all kinds of trucks and cars and stuff you can't get anywhere else. So with further ado, Greg Dixon, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got in the hobby?
Okay. I started in the hobby back in about '68, actually, in model trains. And I've done model trains for, well, 40 years, 50 years. And then about 10 or 15 years ago, I started dabbling more into vehicles and things like that. At one point, there was the division here built a display module for a manufacturer for General Motors. Actually did adhesives for General Motors, and one of the biggest things was that it was all for their automobile industry. So I started helping building automobiles and stuff like that for them, custom made, and designing things of that nature. So one thing led to another, and then I took a time off, several years, and then I came back about 2012, I guess it was, somewhere in there, and started back in, and that's when I started casting. That came about because I wanted to do auto racks loaded. And of course, everything was die cast. Can't put 15 cars on an auto rack that's die cast. It's just a little too heavy. So
and a little bit too much money.
well, back then, we had the fresh cherries and all that.
Yeah,
they weren't so expensive.
Still $5 a pop. I mean,
wow, if you got them in a bucket shot, you were doing good.
Yeah.
So,
if you could
and
do
that leads to something else. Over the past 50 years thereabouts of modeling, I have managed to find odd stuff. I've always gone into hobby shops and toy stores and just picked up stuff. Not necessarily knowing why I want it, but knowing that somewhere in the back of my head is something I needed to have. And
Nice.
it was stored in a box and forgot about it. And fast forward, all of a sudden now I'm looking at it saying, oh, wait a minute, I think I have something, So I go rummaging through the box and I find old stuff that I'd forgotten. Most of us never even gave a thought about because it was a toy.
Right.
It wasn't anything, the technology was so primitive back then with Matchbox and Hot Wheels. There was Corgi, Dinky, of the die cast. Those were the major ones. Majorette was another die caster. And I kept all of that stuff and just stored it. And now I'm bringing it back out. Some of it I'm cutting up, some of it I'm molding. Some of it, like the trusty old number 13. Let's see if I can get up here closer.
There we go. Yeah.
The old Dodge, Matchbox Dodge wrecker.
Right.
Okay. Well, I've always liked it. And we all, at one time or another, probably had this on our lap because it was only available. Now, I went and kept playing with it, trying to decide I wanted to make my own. So there is the scaled down version. And if I do this, you might be able to see how much of a difference there is.
Yeah, it's thinner.
Yeah,
that's for
it's
sure.
thinner, it's shorter, about 25%. It works, it's supposed to be about 28% of a shrinkage, but it usually runs around 25%, something like that. And that's what I do. I just, I'll pick a model or something that I've liked, that I want. It doesn't matter what scale it is. It doesn't matter if it's Hot Wheels, Matchbox, anything. It don't. I mean, I did the one I had, the General Motors. If I have it here, hold on. This cab here was actually a Hallmark fire truck.
Oh wow!
Christmas ornament that I shrunk down to make that cab. So, I mean, that's kind of the stuff I like to do a lot. You never know what's, what.
Well, I know you have a pretty nice fan base. Plenty of people over different video platforms where different podcast platforms seem to praise you a lot. Speaking of Mike Buddy, he,
Yeah, actually,
he praises you all the time about your castings, and he loves
yeah,
it.
I hear every once in a while. So, Mike's a good guy. Mike and I get along great. We do a lot of exchanging on stuff and ideas and things along that line. So, he's actually turned me on a Billinger to get decals done. I do my own a lot of stuff, but there are times like I ordered the Railway Express decal sets from Bill because I just couldn't do them. It was too hard for me to get the graphics the way they should be done. So I went to him and had him do it. So if you give me a second, I want to show you one thing that I think you'll get. Since you like
Okay,
TV,
man.
you like TV items and stuff. I got something for you. Hold on.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
So this is cool. I've been wanting Greg Dixon on the show for a little while now.
Well,
so I finally got him.
Like I said before, I tend to find weird things. You recognize that?
Oh, yeah. I remember you posting that on the TV movie group that I made.
Yeah.
That is perfect scale.
That was an antenna topper.
What?
It was an antenna topper.
Oh, man. That's cool.
I was going through a Kmart. You know how Kmart used to always stick goofy stuff on their end caps of the cashiers?
Yeah.
You never knew what you were going to find there? Well, this was in a box with a bulb on it for the top of an antenna.
That's awesome.
And I walked by it like 3 times. And I says, dang, that looks like SHO. Or pretty dang close. Oh, I think it was like $4. What the hell, I'll buy it. You know? Turned out it's dang close. I never really measured it out and did specs on it. But it's just a rubber. I can't squeeze it too well, but it's all it is, like a hard rubber slush mold.
Right.
Nothing else. So, and then this is going to be the fun one. I don't know if you'll recognize you'll recognize him if I can get it up close enough to you.
Groot? No.
No. Mr. Freeze.
Oh, see,
From Batman.
my recollection of Mr. Freeze goes back to stupid Arnold Schwarzenegger abominating that character.
Oh, no.
So
This is the original Mr. Freeze from back in the TV days.
Yeah, I never watched that series. It was too old for me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know everything about it. I love the vehicle. I love the characters. I just never seen the show.
Yeah, they Play Art, I think it was. I forget who the company was now. They did a Batman and Robin figure set.
Oh, wow.
And well, close to HO. And they did a Mr. Freeze with a freeze gun machine, a big, massive thing, and Mr. Freeze. Same thing. I was walking down the toy aisle. I looked at it. And that looks like HO scale figure.
Right.
Just snatched it up. And at the time, that was before Hot Wheels finally brought out the Batmobile.
Yeah.
You know? And I had Batman and Robin. I didn't have any cars for them.
Right.
You know?
Well, that's funny you say that because I come across an interesting little artifact when I was at a I was at a toy show that we had at our local fairgrounds. And these guys had some micro machines that I never knew micro machines came out with oversized scale people for way undersized scale vehicles, like their normal micro machine scale vehicles, like that big, but some of their figures
were like pretty close
either
to
HO scale, or the other figures were like 1/64 scale. So being that I don't care about the figures in that scale, I was looking for the pretty close to HO scale figures, and I got a whole entire Ewok set that Micro Machines made that is pretty close to 1/87 scale.
Yeah. Well, that's what you're going to get.
Crap.
You know, a while back ago on eBay, speaking of eBay from earlier, I saw somebody advertise a 7-car set from James Bond.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, that, I didn't pick that up because they had that at the train show and they were asking like $45 for it. And I was like, I don't know that I want to spend that much just for the figures.
No, but, these are automobiles. These were all the automobiles.
Oh, no, I hadn't
seen
the
boat. They did the boat. They did DB5.
Yeah.
The newer DB5.
Ooh.
The Silhouette. The Jaguar. The Lotus. I think one other one. It was
Maybe the
and it was
speedboat.
it was weird. It was
Maybe not
for
speed.
a coffee promotion in Japan.
Oh,
You
no
bought
kidding.
Yeah, you bought a can of this coffee. It was drinking, you know, it was ready-made coffee, and on top of it was this little cap type thing that had an automobile in it, and it was really close to HO.
That's
And
awesome.
so I went out on eBay and I went into the James Bond collectible side and searched it, and I think I got all of them for like $25 or $28. And I was like,
Wow.
damn.
That's
So
totally worth it.
2 sets. I got myself 2 sets.
Right.
Just because, I was like, well, maybe I might want to put them on the layout. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, no,
Yeah, that's neat.
that's kind of cool. That's some of the things I like that makes it neat, you know?
Yeah.
Finding those oddball things you don't expect to see.
Right. Well, just like what I have on my module here, the car's Pez toppers. I didn't know that they made the Pez toppers, and then they're pretty darn close
Oh,
to
yeah. I
the
forgot all
scale.
about those.
So
I remember seeing
Oliver,
them before, and I didn't realize that that's what they were.
yeah. Well, I cut the Pez
Right.
container completely off of them, so now they're all
They work.
like junked up underneath. But as long as you're setting it on the ground like that, then
Don't
it's
matter.
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But Oliver posted them. I can't pronounce his last name, but he's from
I know.
Europe or somewhere.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he posted them, and I thought they were something else because about 7, 8 years ago, there was a company that made a set of cars called mini drifters. And they had like a marble on the bottom with
I didn't see those.
plastic wheels, and the marble would just glide the car along
Right.
the top of a table. And they were the cartoon version of that scale. So I
Oh,
bought a
okay.
whole bunch of them, cut them all up just for the wheels because I
Yeah.
didn't really care about the cars. And now you can't find those cars. And now if you do on eBay or Amazon, they're going for big money.
Right.
I was like, I
Of
should have
course.
probably kept them. But
Yeah.
I got that set off of eBay for I think $15. That
Yeah.
was shipped. So I was like, I'm getting them because to find a car set in that scale, they don't make that scale cars unless it's some kind of dumb toy or something like a Pez topper. So
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's perfect. It'll work.
Yeah, you were talking about the deck with those ones, the micro
Micro Machines.
machines. I
Yeah.
picked up when they released all the Corvettes.
Mm-hmm.
I went and got them all. And Mike and I keep going back and forth about them not being perfect, but I'm like,
Right.
that's the closest thing we got to everything.
Yeah.
Every model design, you know.
Well,
And
and
I
you
think I
think
have
back
every
in the
one but
day,
one.
yeah, back in that day, I mean, there wasn't, and we've said it on numerous of these podcasts, but there wasn't a lot of companies making HO 187 scale vehicles. So all you had was close enough,
What was and our close enough was,
Yeah,
170
broad range.
150 to 120 almost. It was a huge range. Now we've gotten wise and we've shrunk it down, but
Right,
even
right.
so, yeah. As far as today's market, this is probably the best we've ever been, as far as 186 vehicles.
Oh, I would definitely think so. I mean, look at the RPS trucks, how detailed they are, and then they're starting to make Chevys finally.
Just released them
And then
finally.
you got 3D printer people that design American-made cars and European cars in this scale.
As long as the industry doesn't go after them, that's the only thing I worry about.
Well,
you know what I mean?
if I can figure out how to use my printer, which I have a 3D printer.
I have one here. I have a brand new one sitting in a.
Oh, mine's brand new and it's a year old. I've used it once.
I mean, mine's I got a Mars Pro. Just before COVID hit.
Oh, okay.
And It sat in England for 2 months
Oh,
because
wow.
they weren't able to ship it over.
Right.
And I was like, and it, they kept sending me updates on what was going on, and I finally
Yeah.
got it in, and I said, well, until I get my other computer, because the one that I have now that I use most of the time is 20 years old, 25 years old. But the problem with it is the Alps printer I use for doing all my decals and the graphic package I use, none of the Microsoft operating systems will
Work on
operate.
that.
Yeah,
Wow.
you can see it. So I had to keep the old printer, the old computer running, so I
Yeah.
could do all that work. But I wanted to get
Right.
another one that I can use the technology today to use the 3D printer.
Well, Joseph Belivens is what he does for work has him traveling, and he's going to be about 2.5 hours from me this upcoming week, I think. He
Mm-hmm.
says he's going to try to venture down to my house, and he's going to teach me how to use my own printer.
Cool. Good. Well,
So
somebody's going to teach. I have an older brother he's a computer guru. He taught technology and everything, and he has a filament printer, not a resin printer.
yeah, no, mine's filament too.
Yeah, and he does all kinds of crazy stuff in no scale with his, which he can get
Nice.
away with because
Right.
it's big. And I told him I got it, so sometime I hope I can find out how to sit down and do it. Though I just saw a video from the people that make the printer. Somebody posted 3D printing for idiots or something like that.
Nice.
It's a video. I gotta watch that.
Yeah, well, see, that's my problem. I need to watch a video 3D printing for idiots, but I need it to literally be for idiots. I needed like 2-button press, the design,
yeah.
and then the printer, and just drag it, and then boom, it's done.
Yeah.
That's how dumb I need it to be.
Oh, I hear. Well, that's, we were talking about my castings and all too. That's how I did castings. If it wasn't for John Tyson telling me about Smooth On, I mean, I used Smooth On for doing my my resin casting, but to do how the shrinking, which John does a wonderful job of.
Yes. He's probably the best in the game as far as I know.
Well, him and Peter. I think Peter Riggs over in.
Oh, well, okay, best in America.
Yeah, I'll go that route for certain. He told me, and I mean, he just said what the material was, and he said, go out on YouTube and find the videos that'll be easier to teach you, which I did. And then I started to experiment to learn how to really use it.
Nice.
At times it's frustrating, especially when you spend a week casting something, because it takes about a week to get it to shrink.
Wow.
And you take it apart, and it doesn't come apart properly. Or it comes apart distorted.
Jeez, and you just
like,
wasted that whole week.
You waste, because what happens is you make the mold, whatever your pattern, you pour the rubber into it, and you let it set 4, 5, 6 hours, depending. Then you demold it, and you have to clean out, like if I'm doing a 2-piece resin, that means I got to take all the clay out of the inside of the body, clean all that up, make sure it's nice and neat, and then pour the second half. Well, you have to pour it within that same time frame, because if you wait a day or 2 days, the first mold, the first half of it's already shrunk. It can shrink like 10% right away. So you have a short window to get 2 pieces molded so that they can kind of shrink themselves together. You don't want to wait a whole day. A couple hours. Usually I get it done within 4 or 5 hours from start to finish for both. And then I take the whole thing apart and just leave it set and let it dry and shrink down. And what I'll do during the course of the week is I'll wait like 3 days, and then I'll run resin through it to see how the mold's performing. Also, when I'm down to the second shrink or sometimes the third shrink, depending on what I have to do, I'll start almost doing one daily, because you can over shrink it so quick just in one day.
Wow.
Yeah. So I always try to catch it, if I have to, in at least one body, that I could take that body and make them, and that becomes my new master for the scale version.
Right.
So, That's usually how I end up doing a lot of that stuff. But I also,
Yeah.
I also do one of my favorite ones of the castings I've done is the GMC I showed you,
Mhm.
and then the Ford. 750. Okay, hold on. I looked over and saw I had the other Ford over here. So here's the Matchbox. Okay, which looks way out of proportion, which
Right.
amazed me. When I shrunk it down, how it became like it belonged, like it was right. The
Yeah,
proportions are all.
that's way better.
Yeah. Now the only thing I had done was I got a hold of Bruce Buddy out in I can't remember if it's in Washington or Oregon, whichever. But he does 3D printing. And I sent him a couple bodies, and I said, "Do me a favor, I need the correct grill for that truck." I cut out the grill so he can measure it all out and do it, because when Matchbox did the Matchbox, they reversed the grill.
Oh wow.
So where all the bumps are, that should be the hole.
Yeah.
And that always drove me nuts to look at that and know that that's what that is, and know that that whether it was done intentionally because they didn't want to pay Ford the license, which is a good possibility.
Probably.
You know, it's close enough that hold on a second, get my phone there. It's close enough that it looks like the Ford and everything, but it's not
Yeah.
exactly
It's not
the
correct.
Ford, so
Yeah.
that they don't have to pay their licensing on it. But
Right.
yeah, so anyway, but he did that, and then he gave me both versions. So I got, not only did I get the 79 to 83, I got the 84 to 87, I think it was, or something like that, which the grill changed. They went from the oval, the blue oval, to the Ford spelled out in it. And he
Oh,
sent me
okay.
both. So, though I don't really model that far into the 80s, I'll model to 81 just before Frisco was taken over, because at that point almost everything was disappearing too quick, and I'm not that keen on that. So,
Right. Well, that's why Mike likes your stuff so much. I think he says he models up to like 87 or something. So
yeah,
like anything, before that obviously is all
right,
fair game for his layout. And
yeah,
since
well
you're
it is,
modeling stuff like that.
and yeah, and I mean, I have a bad habit, if it's a bad habit you want to call it that, of sometimes finding something that's totally off the wall and casting it just because I want to know if I can do it. So for no other reason.
That's not bad though.
Not,
I mean,
no, I have
it,
no need for it. I will never ever put it on the layout.
but it's
But
for your knowledge of I
it's
was
a
able to do
test.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I challenge myself. Can I do that? Is it castable?
Right.
You know.
Yeah,
But then
like
what do
for
you?
instance, Joseph found a 3D, I guess it would be called a CAD or design of the Munsters coach
Cool.
in 187 scale, and it's not the best design, but he
Right.
found it. I think it was a free one, so he decided to test print that, and it didn't come out that good. So I told him to send it to me and I'll make it look good, but I don't know that he's going to do that. But either way, yeah, same thing. He, even if it doesn't look perfect, he will still try and,
Yeah, try to
test,
fix it if you
print
can.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, the
that's
other
why
thing.
I was going to say, that's why I like a lot of crappy castings that come out, because they're perfect for like junk cars or rat rods or whatever. Like
Mhm.
anything that isn't perfect, I'll run with it. I'll make it look great, even if
Well, yeah.
you don't
The
see
other
what the
thing.
possibility is.
The other thing too is you look at die cast. They spray it so thick,
Oh yeah, they do.
and you don't realize how beautiful. Like those Hot Wheels that they did
Yeah,
7, 8 years ago. When you
right.
strip them down, there was more detail than you realize underneath that
Oh
paint.
yeah. No,
You
they
know,
do a great job. I wish they would have. I guess there just wasn't a market for that scale for people to want to buy and buy and buy,
well,
but
they
I
didn't
wish they
market
would
it.
have kept going. No,
They
they
didn't
didn't.
market
They
it.
just happened to show up.
Yeah, they didn't market it. It was a flash in the pan, I think.
Yeah. And
And
I think the biggest problem is because they didn't market, you would have just thought it was going to keep going, so you weren't going to just buy all the new it right when it was on the shelf. You just wait and wait and wait, and then all of a sudden they start to disappear, and you're like, oh crap.
well, not only that, like the best example I can always give is the Batmobile with that. You
Yeah,
couldn't find a
probably the best
Batmobile.
car they
You could
have.
not find the Batmobile in the East. It was like a West Coast item.
Yeah, well, you
You
couldn't
couldn't
really
find
find
it.
it out there neither. The people that were hunting for them were like staying up late at night, going right when they opened, and
But you couldn't
stealing it
find them.
before you could get it.
It was like the limited amount made of that vehicle, and everything
Well, I
else they
think
had
that
tons of.
vehicle, period, was limited amount no matter
Yeah,
what.
yeah,
Just like the speed racer cars. Good
yeah,
luck finding those. I found a whole set of them,
yeah. I
and
have a
I
set of those too.
paid.
Did you get
Yeah,
the
I
dirt ones too? Did you get the dirty ones?
they made dirty ones.
Hold on.
No, no, I did not get dirty ones. Mine are like museum quality.
Hold on. See if I can find them.
I I know they came out with two different versions of Mach 5, like the movie car version and then the cartoon version. The rest of the cars, I think, are the movie version, and I thought those were the only versions. I didn't know they made dirty versions, so that's interesting.
I can't find them now, but they made a set.
I believe you. If you can't
No, I
find them,
wanted to show you what they did. You'd like it too. I can
I
probably
bet I
find it.
would. I mean, considering I didn't even know they made a dirty set, I think I'd probably love it.
Hold on. I have them everywhere, and I just gotta I gotta look to see if I can find the right one. There we go. There's one of them at least, and it's still in the box. So I haven't taken it out. You see the mud?
Oh, what? Dang, Greg. I don't even know. Yeah, no, mine isn't dirty.
Yeah,
Not
they
muddy.
did these. I don't remember if it was just. I think there was this one and one other one that they did that way.
Okay.
So
So I
and
have that clean, and then I have the movie version that has the, I don't know, brackets on the wheels or something like that, whatever they're
I have
supposed
the
to
whole
be.
whatever the whole set was. I got this one,
Yeah.
I got the brown one. I think there's 5 cars, something like that.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
5, I think.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Anyways, yeah, I got the whole set too. I just have them clean though.
No.
I got the one on your right.
You got this one.
Yeah, I don't have the other one.
This one was by happenstance. I think this. I don't remember if this one. No, this one's not in. This was a premium when you
Yeah,
bought
that's
the
made from
movie.
Jada.
Yeah, and then they released it separately. This one was not. And this was just. I don't even remember who made this one. It might have been
I
Jada
actually
again.
just want to build my own version of that out of a uh, crappy diesel truck that's like $5.
Almost,
I would like
almost
to
could
build
use.
my own version.
Yeah, I mean.
I just need a decal set because I'm not painting those flames.
I hear you. So, but yeah, getting the lines. The same thing with I was talking about the speed racer stuff. I happened to see it and say, yeah, I'm gonna grab it just in case. I'll never use it. It'll stay in a box, and I have a couple shelves, the cases of just collectible.
Yeah.
That I leave. So.
Well, I leave all my collectible 187 scale in the box, unless I'm gonna like put it on my module, like my movie set module. I took the Batmobile out of the box and set it in front of Mel's Diner, and I was leery about doing that, thinking that maybe it might get 5-finger discounted from my module, and it didn't.
Yeah, well, that's always a possibility. That's one of the biggest
Yeah.
things I always have about laying stuff out when we go to the shows.
Right. I mean, that one Batmobile made by Hot Wheels is a $60 to $80 car on any buying form like
Right.
eBay or Amazon. And so that I thought, okay, that has the possibility not being connected to the actual module of just disappearing probably.
Hmm.
But then I kind of thought maybe the Ghostbusters cars might do the same, but they didn't. So
Yeah. Yeah,
people at
especially
that
those with a
Amherst show is
little bit
pretty
more
good.
money involved in those.
Yeah,
They knew what was going on with them in particular. So
right. Well, and see at the Amherst show, which was my first year this January, um, I had my module set up on the module display and then my personal display on the
right.
opposite side. So this, if it happens this next year, which I'm kind of seeing that things are starting to cancel in the winter and early next year.
Yeah, I just
Um, if it doesn't, well, shoot, I don't even think I'm going to go up there, even if it doesn't cancel with with everything going on. But maybe
I
the
was
year
planning
after.
on going this year because I
Yeah,
always want to go up there, but I never can make it.
right.
And, um,
Well, 5 years running, this year was my first year.
yeah.
I've wanted to
Well,
go for five
I
years in a row.
canceled twice before. I said I'm going to go. I'm going to go, and then work didn't work out right, so I couldn't. But
Right.
now I'm in another location. I should be able to.
Yeah.
Same with there's a an RPM meet on in Daytona in January, the second week in January. I just got an email the other day saying that they canceled it. It won't be available now until 2022. They're not even
Right.
going to.
Well,
So
I suspect that the Amherst
yeah,
one's
I
gonna
think
do the
it's already
same.
on.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the smart thing of the organizers to do. But at the same time, who knows? I don't know. I
Uh,
don't know that I'm gonna make that one just because of this is still
the weather,
going on
weather
in
too.
August.
Yeah.
Well, here's the crazy thing. So in January, like the week before, the forecast says it's going to snow and it's going to be in the 30s. And I'm like, shoot, no year have I ever heard of any member of our 187 group getting stuck in the snow. So it can't be that bad even if it does snow. So
Right.
we packed all this winter gear like we were going to the mountains or something. And it was around 55 degrees with no snow the whole weekend. And I was like, we're sweating here with long shirts and thermals, and it's supposed to be freezing.
Yeah. 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 That's the way it goes. You don't
Right.
know from one show to the next show. In all honesty, on that. So,
But
but
but for my first time ever going, I loved that show. It was probably the best train show that I've ever been to. And the fact that we had a whole section just for our little hobby of the
yeah.
train hobby
Well, I think
was
St. Louis
awesome.
is going to be that way now too. I
Oh
think
yeah,
we're, I
it's
think
definitely
St.
becoming
Louis
that.
is going to be the West. I don't want to say the West Coast version, but
The,
for right now, it's going to be the
right.
West.
The
Definitely going to be
West
the
Coast
Western
definitely
version.
does need its own version.
You know.
We, as a club, the 187 scale club, like Bob Johnson and Dan Goins, they need to
Mhm.
figure out, or somebody needs to figure out somehow to get a West Coast, California, Arizona, Nevada,
Yeah.
Vegas,
It would
something
be nice.
going on that side.
The far end, yeah. We could
Yeah.
maybe tie it in with an RPM. That I think wouldn't be a bad deal too.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we got to
West
St.
Coast,
Louis, is
and
because of
they
RPM.
and they do that in the Big E. That's basically tie it with an RPM. So that I
Right.
mean that would go hand in hand. I mean it's a prototype on both sides. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, I
So
know on the actual web page of the 187 Scale Club that uh, June or July, they actually had an RPM in Texas that Bob was going to have a meetup at. And I was
okay,
like, that's cool because now the South end of
get
the
something
country has
right.
got something going on. So that's good for them. And that seems to slowly be opening the doors for other areas.
Yeah,
And even
I
though it
think
got
it'll be good.
canceled, it's just still having that stepping stone.
Yeah. Well, you have to give it a shot. It's the only way it's going to work. And if we don't try,
Right.
that's where we fail. And we don't
And
try. So
I know there's plenty of people in our little world of 187 scale vehicles that are on the West Coast.
yeah,
So even if
I
Bob
will.
and Dan can't figure it out, maybe some of them can, you know,
There's a ton of guys out there. There's a ton.
right. Just some of
Um,
them could just go to a local train show or an RPM meet and talk to the organization and say, hey, look, this is what we
Let's
do.
give us
We're
a couple
already at
tables
these
to start.
meets. Right.
Just like they did in St. Louis 3 years ago now.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
When Bob
I
came in
mean,
and said, hey, we want to try to do it. Let's a few tables. That's all they asked for.
right. And it's
And
going to be
now
small to start with because
you don't
it's
know.
the first one.
Yeah.
Why? I think it might. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then, the more and more it happens, the more word gets out, the bigger it'll get.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So.
Because look, when we're at that St. Louis meet, I don't care about 90% of the whole show. I don't go to any of the clinics because I don't care. I don't really buy anything that's not vehicle related. And then even then, I still don't
You're
really
not into
buy
the
it.
model railroad side of it. You're into the vehicle.
Right.
Yeah. You're into vehicles, not trains. In
Yeah.
my case, I'm in both. So
Right.
I'm like a bouncing ball everywhere.
Well, if it was, I guess if it was more, if the trains were more related to specifically what I like, I would definitely be more into them.
Sure.
But they're not, so I'm not.
Yeah, that's fine.
But don't get me wrong, the next RPM meet, if it does happen this next summer, I will have my hot rod train and my Back to the Future train out there. You just have to. It's a train show.
Well, what else would you bring?
Right, exactly. Vehicles? That's crazy.
Why would you bring one of those? I don't understand.
Right. Nobody's driving those to a train yard. We're driving trains to a train yard.
Really?
And we're modeling them on the way to the train yard.
That's it. So, but yeah, I don't know. As far as my future goes, and that, and this, I have no idea where I'm going. I just kind of.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't know where any of my questions are going until they get here. So that's how my great podcast skills are.
Yeah, well, I just kind of wing it, and like I said, in some ways is what meets my fancy.
Yeah.
If I see something that looks interesting and a large scale that I might want, I do it. I also use it. One of the nicest things about this skill in learning to mold stuff is when you buy something and there's a part missing.
Right.
And I bought. Bachman used to have trailers, mobile homes.
Yeah. I've seen those.
Okay. And I want to do a mobile home park on the layout somewhere. I haven't decided where yet or anything. So I bought a couple of them. One of them was missing the front section. I'm like,
that's
damn.
so important.
One of them, minor detail, So I took one of the other kits, took the front section out, made a mold of it, and was able to reproduce it so that I have all the parts.
Nice.
That's one of the nice things about that too. You can always mold something if you need it. Make it,
right,
copy it, but you can get it, you can do something. Learning that skill of molding. It just and it makes life easier too. A lot of times when you're down to that last piece,
right,
and you got 10 more you're going to be doing. So you make that becomes your master, and you make a bunch more, so you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Well, that's like the Ghostbusters cars. I buy the print from Shapeway, and it comes with the roof rack with 2 light bars on front and back because they had the 80s style light bar. But that's a solid bar. So you can't fit an LED into it and have it light up because it's solid. So I have to cut them off. And then I go to Bush. I think Bush is the company that makes the police light bar kits. And
I think Bush, I think Herpa makes them too.
One of those 2 companies. I have to buy 2 sets of those in order to get 2 of the same color light bulb bars because they only come with 1 set of a light colored bar for each color. Right. So I have to buy 2 sets, and that it also gives me the spotlights to put in front of the light bars that blink separately from the light bar. So I got to buy those kits because I don't make my own parts. So that cost. And then I had Dave's Decals create a whole bunch of decals for Ghostbusters cars that I have to pay for. And then I once I have it all painted and decal it up. I send all the parts loose to East Coast Circuit and have them put all the wiring in the LED work, because I'm not that good yet, and I'll never be that good. I'm going to let them do it forever. Because to drill that spotlight out, that's 1 millimeter big.
Wow.
No, I can't do it. I don't know how they do it, but they do it, and they stick the LED in there. They don't even just drill it out. They drill out the whole hub of the light, and then drill a hole on the bottom so the LED goes in and then through. Like, what the heck?
I was going to say, you know, it would be pretty cool. Would be to take those lights, and if you could make a mold, right? Then insert the LED in the mold, and then pour your resin to it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to do any drilling.
No. Although, well, so the 3D print of that Ecto, you still have to drill those holes out, but I mean, that's nothing compared to the actual spotlights and the light bars and whatnot.
You could probably get that bulb, and you can buy a clear resin.
Yeah.
Cast clear.
You're the resin guy. You and Mike. Go for it.
Well, I tell you what, I get into some crazy stuff when it comes to doing those little detail parts.
But that's like you said, like you see something that you like and you'll buy it because you like it and you want to test yourself. I'm kind of the same exact way. I only buy what I like. I'm not, unless I'm building for a customer. And if it's for me, whatever it is, no matter how big or how small and how detailed or how not, I'm going to get it. And I already see a picture in my head that I know I can try to make it better. Like these best of show kits that are like, I don't know, $20. And then the other kits that are even more. What is it, Rico or something?
Well, you had all the Neo for a while. All those beautiful Neo.
Oh yeah, Neo. That's the one. It's a resin body, perfectly casted resin body, with photo etched parts all over the car, like window trim and all that. Yeah. And I thought, I don't want to even mess that car up, but I'm still going to take it apart. I'm going to make it my own. All I did was lower it because I didn't dare take anything off and lose it. Yeah.
Don't screw the body.
So I did have to drill out the wheel wells further, and I was so scared that I was going to crack the resin, and then there's going to be a big crack mark through the hood and fenders. Yeah. But I drilled out the wheel wells so I can set the car on the ground. That's all I did. And I put everything back together, left the same color because I didn't want to ruin or lose a photo etch piece I was going to have to pay $45 to get a whole nother car for or something.
Yeah, so, I hear you. I started following Matchboxes again because about 2 years ago now, I guess Mattel finally decided it was time to let Matchbox do what Matchbox does and not make Matchbox versions of Hot Wheel cars, for lack of a better way. They have gone back to doing all their own licensed vehicles. So,
which is crazy because they're made by the same company. Mattel owns Matchbox.
Right. Well, now they've I won't say they want to separate them, but they kind of separated them off.
No, they totally did. They're like two different companies now.
They're down in I don't know where they're at. They're still in Mattel. They're still Mattel property and everything like that. But they now have started to do all their own stuff, and they've finally gone back to doing real automobiles. And they're bringing us some really cool stuff.
They really are.
Did you see the banana boat?
I did. That's thing is
cool.
Yes,
I got one. I find them.
I still haven't got one.
I happened to be at the right place at the right time, and I went, I got to get one. I don't know why. I got to get one. It's just weird.
Well, there's another, I wonder if I have it here. There's another brand, another company that's making, no, I don't have it. Oh, well, it's lost. There's I don't know if it's Yatmine. It's a Japanese company that makes 164.
Tomica. Tomica. Tomica.
Yeah. They make like Yeah, they make 2 or 3 187 scale vehicles to fit in that 164 scale blister clear plastic thing that they have.
At one
And
time, they did a
they're
lot of
trucks.
yeah. Well, they did a lot of construction equipment that way. Almost a
Oh,
lot
okay.
of their back in this, and I'm going back 40 years ago, 30 years ago. They made a
Wow.
bulldozer. They made a front end loader, tracked front end loader. If I have them out here or not. No, I thought I might have them on the lat sitting, but that they had done, like I said, a front end loader, two versions of a bulldozer. One's a raking bulldozer for like garbage dumps where they had those big rakes on them, as opposed to a regular blade. It just
Oh,
had,
okay.
you know what I'm talking about? They used to
No,
use those.
but I kind of know. It's not for farming, but I guess it's
No,
for
right.
dumps.
Yeah, it's for it's for garbage dumps. They
Yeah.
use it to help push the garbage. They made one of those. They made the front end loader, and they made the bulldozer. All three of those were dead on HO scale. They were all Komatsu bulldozers, Komatsu equipment. So they did a lot of stuff, and they got a lot. I mean, they have a whole premium line. If you ever catch Lammy's, LAM.
I don't know.
Anyway, he's a video guy. He does 164 stuff. He does a lot of videos on releases of the new Matchbox, Hot Wheels, all those.
Oh, I'm sure I've most likely ran across him. Them.
Like almost every week he's got new product come out that he gets.
Okay, yeah. There's not very many people that do that, so I'm more than sure I've run across him before.
And he does a nice job when he does he talks about this stuff. So let me grab something real quick. I want to show you something else.
All right.
That's a pretty good view of it. That's the 1975 Chevy Capri,
Yeah.
two-door coupe.
That's awesome.
They just released it. The only reason I'd show you the car, but it's in stripper right now.
Nice. That's okay. Yeah, no, they also make a 71 Glass House, which is like another full-size Chevy. They're coming out with, like, in the Chevy world, they're really coming out with, which is awesome for the
got some
Hot
1930s
Wheels
cars coming on.
Yeah.
1950s that are really cool.
We'll say like they have a 33, 34 Speedster. Like, I can't. The box art or the card art is so much better than the stupid casting. I can't stand that.
Well, I think sometimes, some of the paint that they put on there really obscures a lot of what's there.
Right.
Unfortunately, but I know they got that.
I mean, the whole body is casted wrong. It's just compared to the box art or the card art. The card art is chopped, streamlined, looks like a SoCal Salt Flats racer. From the 1940s. This car is chopped like the Eliminator from ZZ Top's video, which is completely two different types of hot rods.
Vehicles, yeah.
So I didn't think the casting of that car represented what that art was on the car at all. Yeah. But I mean, whatever.
I'm trying to think what they announced. They announced, about 5 or 6 new vehicles, automobiles that are licensed automobiles.
Nice.
Like a couple in the 70s, a couple from the 40s, 50s, a bunch right now, current within the last, say, 10 years for what they're doing, and some trucks. So I kind of thought, maybe. So
right, maybe.
And then they just, then they started. I wish they'd go back to their working rigs, not the working rigs. What were those called? I can't remember now. They now have the working rigs, which is the tractor trailers ones, but they're a little bigger than HO. But they had some for a long time that were HO or real close, like 190th, 185th,
Yeah.
183rd, you know, in
Right.
that range that we could use without a problem. Now the
Yeah.
stuff they're bringing in is too big. And it's like,
Well, so what I've noticed is Mattel back in, say, ever since forever until just recently, Mattel would do their rigs in a close to HO scale.
right,
And that was because it needed to fit on a certain size
right,
card.
the card. Yeah, that's everything about the
Now,
card.
yeah, now they are focused on making their rigs literally 1/64 scale. So they're twice as big as it
Mhm.
used to be. And they don't care about having it fit on a certain card. They'll put it in a box or something.
Right.
But now their rigs are literally much bigger than they ever
Yeah.
used to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they look better for the 1/64 scale collector, customizer,
Right.
whatever, but not for us
No, it
if we
doesn't do
want
us
to
any.
model an HO.
Right. 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 You know. So, but yeah, I've been, like I said, I've been watching a lot more of Matchbox now because of that, because I'm looking at things and saying, okay, I can use that one for shrink, you know,
Yeah.
that type of deal again. So,
Well, it seems like Matchbox, like you said, is going with the actual vehicle look, while Hot Wheels is continuing on this cartoony, made up look of
yeah.
something
Well,
that
you know,
doesn't
well,
exist.
I,
And they're creating more of the fantasy than they are the real.
yeah, they stopped doing the custom cars that they did. Let me rephrase it. They stopped doing the California custom cars, which they
Right.
were really famous for, and they were
Yes.
fabulous looking when they did
They
them.
were. Yeah.
And
They
they, I
really
mean,
were.
and the funny part about it, you looked at them, most of them didn't have a lot of detail. If you looked at,
No, but you knew what
but
it
they got,
was.
yeah, but they captured what you needed to
The
capture,
look. Yeah.
that look,
The
and you
essence of what
accepted
it was
the
supposed to
lack
be.
of the detail, the lack of
Right.
door lines, and you know, all those little minute things that we would go crazy about now.
Yeah,
But you,
like the famous '67 Camaro that has been
right,
casted ever since probably the late '60s or early '70s. Doesn't have any door lines at all.
nope, no,
It's like
it's
a
a smooth body.
fiberglass. Yeah, and
You know, you get the hood.
everybody's okay with that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
A hood that doesn't fit. It just barely
The
closes.
only thing that happens was the black hood usually that was opening.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, but
But
when I was
everybody's
talking about
okay with that.
Matchbox, and I'm gonna, yeah. What's really funny to me now is how Oxford, and I don't know, you get into their website, and I go in all the time to see if there's any new HO stuff coming out.
You
Uh,
usually do post it and let us all know. So thank
yeah,
you.
well, they just released 6 cars. 6 more came out, were announced today. They're doing a turquoise and white Nomad wagon, which they've done the Nomad already in different colors, but this is the first time they're doing the turquoise.
So is it new cars or is it existing cars with new paint schemes?
Existing cars with new paint right now. They got 4 new vehicles or 3 new vehicles coming.
Okay.
They've got a 40s Dodge pickup that looks really sweet.
Nice.
Hopefully they do it justice. I can't remember what the other one. That one stuck in my head because I thought, oh, I like that.
Right.
And I think there's 2 cars coming, so I think there's 3. But they also said that because of this COVID, that backed them up completely. They're
Oh, I'm
so
sure.
far behind. They're just
Yeah.
getting caught up on what they already had set up for production.
Wow.
That's what she was just
Well,
telling us on the
as
site.
much as I love their detail and I love what they're coming out with, the only thing I don't like about their whole entire lineup of 187 scale is their wheels.
Yeah.
I love the detail in their wheels. I hate the oversized scale of their wheels.
Yeah.
It's so stupid to me that they're like so much bigger than what it should be.
Yeah.
It never made sense to me.
I mean, I never really thought about scaling them to see what was the right size.
So like the 61 convertible Impala, that stock wheel ends up being like a 22-inch wheel in that
Okay.
scale, which is
All
way
right.
too big.
Well,
I mean, the biggest wheel you could get in 1961 was a 15-inch wheel.
okay.
So it should be
You're
like
talking about rims, not tires. You're talking about the rims, actually.
the rim and the tire combo. It's just too big.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, the rim is okay. So say the rim is like an 18-inch rim. When you add the tire, then it becomes like a 22 circumference, you know,
Right.
22 inch. It's just still too big for a
Hmm.
stock vehicle to have. And then they have that T-Bird that's got wheels that are even bigger.
Mm.
I
I don't
I
know.
never liked the
I mean,
wheels, and I switch them out. I love
yeah.
the casting. I love
I
the
mean, they do beautiful
product,
castings.
except for the wheels.
And there was a guy, and I don't remember his name, and I know he showed it on our site that he did the decals for the Dodge Charger, to close the front wind, to close the headlights up.
Yeah, who was that?
And
I
he sent
I
me a couple
know
of sets of them.
Joseph made a set of decals for that Dodge Charger to be a different year.
Yeah. Well, he
Um,
made and I wish I could remember who it was, and I can't remember top of my head. And because I sent him and I bought a couple sets off him, but he made the whole front grille replacement in a decal sheet to lay over
yeah,
the grill so that the headlights were closed, because you never had the headlights open.
right. I think it
Really.
might. If it's not
Maybe just
Joseph, I know Joseph did do one because because everybody was complaining that his General Lee wasn't the right year that he was using from Oxford's,
Mhm.
car, and so he figured out the way to make it. He did the rear end, the rear lights different too with
That's
a
all he had to
decal
change.
sheet.
Yeah.
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 So I know he made one, but I want to say that's possibly somebody else made one too.
I don't
I
remember
don't
who it
know.
was. I just remember sending him text or emailing him and saying, "Hey, I need a couple sets. How much it'll be, and can you send them to me?" Type deal,
Right.
And he was gracious enough to ship them out to me.
Yeah.
So I got to have them because I thought that was kind of cool. I like that idea.
It's,
They look better.
that's what's great though too. Like if it's a similar body style but different accents on the car, a set of decals can change that right up.
Yeah. Look at Mike. Mike's Firebirds is my prime example.
Right.
Firebirds Camaros. My
His whole
God.
auto rack lineup has every different version of every car possible.
Yep.
Of GM or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I kind of do the same thing with Ford. I like my Fords because I get to mix the load. That's one thing
So
Ford
here's what's
did that
funny.
GM didn't do.
I'm a Chevy guy or a GM guy, have been
Yeah.
my whole life, but that's only when it comes to like 40s, 50s, 60s cars. Once you get below 40s, I'm total Ford guy. But that's mostly because of the hot rod and the rat rod.
Okay.
There
Well,
were
that makes
more,
sense. Yeah.
yeah, more of those vehicles to customize than there were GM vehicles to customize.
Right. Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
my first car was a Mustang, so
I know. My first car was a 65 Impala.
I was a '79 Mustang two-door coupe.
Nice. See, I'm
And I
not a
was
Mustang fan.
poor
In
guy.
fact, I make this joke. I said if somebody were to give me one, I'd go and sell it right away because I just don't want it. Like even if it was a museum quality, I
Yeah.
would go and sell it for as much money as I could because I still don't want it.
Yeah. No.
Unless it's a 2019 or 2020, then I'll take it and I'll drive the crap out of it
Yeah.
because those
Well,
things
wait till
look sexy.
the battery
Yep.
operated one comes. They're doing
Yeah,
an electric one now. Supposed to be.
I don't doubt it. I mean, everything else is going electric.
Yeah, they
So
already got
all the supercars are going electric. They're getting rid of the big old V12s and V10s and going with electric motors. So
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see a
yeah.
whole new world.
Here's what's funny though. You get an electric supercar or
Yeah.
luxury car, in the computer system of the car, they've got audio files to make you feel like you're driving
Driving a car, a regular
yeah, like
car.
a real engine car. Because um I know Mercedes does it, BMW does it, and supercars do it. Like Lamborghini, 2020 Lamborghini is all electric, and inside of their computer system, they got audio files so you can hear a V12 roaring through
I
the
don't know why.
speakers.
You're spending all this
Yeah.
money to get an electric car. Why would you want it?
Well, I think it's not a choice of them choosing it to be electric. It's being forced on them.
Mm.
Like unless you buy a used old car, if you want a
You're
brand
gonna
new
have
one, you're
electric.
getting electric.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
you know, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not in that realm of having my
Mm.
speakers sound like a real car,
No,
so
my.
I don't know yet, but
Yeah, I still
maybe
think
20,
about the old
30
days.
years.
Oh, I think about going back to the old days where you'd puncture your muffler so it sounded right.
So, right, exactly. It made you have a bigger engine. I had
That's
a
right.
I had a '63 Chevy Impala wagon, and it
Okay.
didn't come with any mufflers except for U-shaped or L-shaped tubes coming right off of the exhaust manifolds. And when we first bought it, it was too loud. Like California emissions didn't allow you to have an exhaust that loud. So we bought some not bellflowers, some cherry bombs and some just piping to go along the rockers.
Right.
Well, once I realized that a lot of the rat rods were going mufflerless, I said, I'm going to chop them off. I'm going to stick those L shapes diagonal, have them stick out right behind the front tires. No muffler, straight pipe.
Right.
Oh my God. Was that a mistake? That was the loudest thing I've ever driven. And anytime you accelerated, your ears were going to just pop.
I had a couple elbows on the, I forget which car it was, go out off the manifold, come down, where it come off the manifold, come down under the body.
Yeah.
There's an elbow, like a snake.
Yeah,
and I had a couple of those go out. Yeah.
And it's just as
you
loud.
tramped on that gas, man. You heard that sucker. You vibrated.
Here's a funny thing. I was taking that car to a car show. It was 4:30 in the morning, pitch black. People were lined up to get into the car show sleeping. I roll up, just ram the accelerator down, and they all thought, they wake up and they're all like, what kind of engine do you have in that thing? I said, it's just a 327. They're like, no, it's got to be way bigger. I'm like, no, trust me. It's leaking oil.
Well, when I got my Mustang, the first day I got my Mustang, I got it actually 2 days before the release date. Fortunately, I had a friend that was the salesman, and long story short, I got it early.
Yeah.
And there was a gas station right down the street from the dealer, and a friend of mine worked at the gas station. So I pulled in, and I said, hey, I got my car, and he comes out and looks and he says, that's really cool. So somebody comes up, I don't remember who they were, and they looked at it and says, is that the new Mercedes? Oh, no, that's just a Mustang.
Mercedes.
Well,
yep, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Well, when the 79 Mustang came out, the only markings were front and rear. No side markings.
But it still didn't look like a Mercedes, though.
It looked like the 350, the early 350.
Okay,
yeah.
I don't know my Mercedes that old then.
Yeah, it looked like the earlier, I mean, it wasn't identical, but the block shape generally was that. But it was funny. I said, no, unfortunately, no.
I mean, I know the Mustang at one point, late 80s or something, had the appearance of like a Pinto.
That's when they got rid of, yeah, they went straight.
That's
when they went to the fastback and kind of streamlined it more.
Yeah, it made it super tiny.
Yeah. Well, it really never changed. The size stayed the same. The body never changed.
Super tiny compared to other vehicles of that year.
Okay. Yeah, the body, the Fox body Mustang never changed its size. It stayed the same until '94 when they changed the whole body.
Oh, okay.
They went to the Toyota version, which I call it.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't like any of those. I'll take the new one though. The new one looks sexy.
I always liked my sister-in-law had a '67, which I liked. I drove it a lot. And
Bullet. What was it? That's not Bullet. That's 68, huh?
Yeah, '67 convertible. It was red, black vinyl top. Her dad, she got it back to her dad.
I can appreciate it. I just don't want it. I can definitely appreciate it. I know it's a nice car.
I'll make you sick. In 1972, Johnstown had a major flood. Her dad had just got the car back from the reconditioning. He had the whole thing rebuilt, reupholstered.
Wow.
They found it 2 miles down the road after the flood came through. Totally.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Well, so much for that restoration.
Yeah. That was a beautiful car. I mean, I love that thing. So I almost got it, actually.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, talking about cars, I think Eric something from overseas created the Eleanor car in 187.
Oh,
and
cool.
I think that thing is awesome. I would definitely try to get that in that scale, but not a real one. I love the movie that the Eleanor was in.
Right.
I don't care for the car really. I just like that it's a movie car. It looks pretty cool. I don't want it, but I would definitely love to have it in 187 scale. I don't even want it in Hot Wheel scale.
Anything I can get most of the time in 187 scale within reason, I try to grab. Now, I'm not crazy enough to go out and buy all this heavy construction equipment that's out there nowadays.
Right.
Mainly
Me
because I
neither.
can't justify spending $150 for, for a bulldozer.
Right.
Of course, I'd spend $150 for a locomotive, but that's a whole other ballgame.
That thing moves
Yeah,
and
that does
probably
more
does
than just sit
smoke.
there.
Yeah, it has
So,
blinking lights.
so those guys over in Europe with that RC stuff, man, I can see that in another 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, well,
I
thanks
mean,
to
you know,
Wonderland and Germany, I mean, that pioneered the whole entire
animation. Yeah,
model railroading to be real, you
yeah.
know?
Well, they
I
did
mean,
that one. They did one up in Canada,
well, Wonderland overexceeded
Northland.
everything.
Northland. I forget what the name of it was. I think I want to call it Northland. So,
I mean, they got
but
that
that was
$4
up.
million
They did that one up in
airport.
Canada, at Niagara Falls. They did one up in Niagara Falls. It was same kind of concept. You travel around the world on the different
Is that where
scenes.
that is?
That was there. It's not
I
there
was in
anymore.
Niagara Falls 2 years ago. I didn't know
It
about
wasn't there.
that.
It's been gone. That's been
Oh,
gone for probably 10, 15 years.
oh, okay.
It didn't last very long, unfortunately. Uh, when I went through there, at the gift shop they sold a container, an HO scale container that said Northland on it. I think it was yellow with black lettering.
Oh, wow.
And but yeah, I was like really excited when I saw the place. I'm like, oh, cool.
Well,
You
yeah,
know.
that came out before Wonderland came out. I mean,
Yeah, no,
they
they
were
were around
probably
about the same
building.
time. They were around about the same. And
Has
then
it
there was
been
a
out that
guy.
long?
Yeah, there was a guy up in New Jersey that has a
Yeah,
layout up there.
yeah, that was one of the biggest American
It's still there.
layouts.
It's still
Yeah.
just he sold it to some foreign guy who's renovating it and doing all
Oh,
kinds of
wow.
stuff that it's going to
I know
increase it.
there's still photos of that floats around Facebook, every year
Yeah,
there's a new group of photos that bring that back to light.
yeah. He's still the layout's still alive. It still runs. From what I understand, this guy's expanding it. I don't know what he's doing,
Geez,
but
that
it's
thing's big
from
already.
what I understand, it's in Fleming, New York, Fleming, New Jersey, is where it's at. Um, it was in a house. It was in a ranch
Really?
house or something like that. Yeah, if
Because
I
at
remember
one
correctly.
time I remember looking at a newspaper article, maybe it was online that I saw the newspaper article, and they considered that to be one of the biggest or the biggest at one time in the
Yeah, it
US
was
private
huge.
layout.
It
Yeah.
was huge. So I don't know. Um, but yeah, it's there's a lot of neat layouts around the world now.
Oh,
Really
yeah.
cool
Well, and so,
layouts.
when we were talking about the RPM meeting and saying I don't really care about the trains, I like trains. I don't care to build a train
Right.
layout. I admire everybody's layout they have and the money they
Right.
put into it.
And it's the
If
same with
I collaborated with somebody that built the layout and I just built the vehicles and some
right.
cool buildings,
Well,
cool. I just don't
years ago.
care to do the train side of it.
Yeah. Well, it's
But I
kind of funny
admire
is
all
when
that.
I was in the club, the society it later became a society. One of my biggest gripes with them all the time was they never had the right vehicles. They did a period railroad from the 50s, and they had 68 Camaros, stuff that was way
Went to
too
the
new.
future.
And I said to these guys, I said, you know what? You can put any piece of rolling stock on here, any locomotive you want on here.
Yeah,
No one will know the difference.
right.
You put the wrong automobile on that layout,
Yeah.
they're going to know. I said, because
That's
people know cars.
just like
You
when you're
need to,
watching a movie or TV show.
right?
You see it like it says on the screen 1967 or 1955, and then you see something 1 year earlier. You're like,
Well,
what? Come
early's
on
not so
now.
bad, but 1 year later, 1 or 2 years later,
Oh, that's what I
that
meant.
date,
Later.
yeah,
Later, yeah.
you go,
That's
wait
what
a
I
minute,
meant.
that don't belong there yet.
Right.
You
Or
know?
like hubcaps. I was looking
Yeah.
at this one show and I was looking at the hubcaps. I'm like, they did not have those hubcaps back then. Those are like 80s style hubcaps. Come on now.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
people making the show or the movie or whatever, they're not necessarily car people. They just see it and say this fits. So
What
they
was
don't know how
really
to look at
interesting,
all that stuff.
I had a 79 Valari wagon I sold. I sold it
Nice.
to the group that did Mine Hunters.
Really?
So, yeah. What happened was they were filming here in Pittsburgh. Their first two series, I think, were filmed in Pittsburgh. So I had put the car up because I wanted to rebuild it. It only had 39,000 miles on it, but I just didn't have time, didn't have the money. whatever one. It was either one or always the other. And I finally, and it was in my mother's house at the time, and she'd passed away. We had to get rid of it. And I just finally said, well, I'm just going to put it out and sell it. So I put it out, and the guys came that did the Mine Hunters. And they said, we're looking for cars just like that. He says, because these are the ones that nobody has. You know, everybody and their brother has the sports cars and the, you know, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But a generic family car, they don't have.
Yeah.
You know, and this was my dad bought this car. And his attitude was, I wanted the vehicle to go from point A to point B. That was it. He didn't have anything special in it. And he drove it, and it was contented. He was happy. 39,000 miles. And it sat in the garage. The last time I drove it was like 2010 or 2002, 2003, something like that. And I parked it, and I never drove it again. And so they picked it up, and they put it on a flatbed, and they towed it out. And I saw it at the garage they were using. It was up on the lift. They were getting it ready to actually use it. They were rebuilding the engine and training to run it. And I said,
that's cool.
I was talking to the guy about it. He says, yeah. He says, that car will go all over the country. He says, and they just load them up on a auto rack, on a transporter, off to the next scene. You know, and it's just, when they saw what shape it was in, originally they were just going to use it as a background car. And when they saw the shape that it was in, it was actually in good shape. No rust on it. Yeah, well, I take it back. The bumpers had some rust on it, but the rest of the body was perfect. And the guy just said, hell, we'll re-chrome those.
Right.
Not a big deal. You know, that's not a big
If
deal.
the rest of the car is good and they don't have to do a complete restoration on it, chroming the bumpers is nothing.
Yeah, the car was never out of the garage. I mean, when he drove it from like, say, March to October. The minute the winter started, he stopped driving it. He didn't want to take it out.
Summer car its whole life.
Its whole life was summer car and always in the garage. It never was outside unless it was going to be driven.
That's a good car owner right there.
Yeah,
I admire him.
He took care of it. So, and then he stopped driving, and then I got the car, and then I drove it for a while, like I said, and then finally I parked it because I got something newer and I didn't need to use the car anymore. But I didn't want to get rid of it, you know.
But that's my problem. I got a 60 Mercury. It was running when I bought it. I think Mercury. All it needs is 60.
Ford. That's a Ford.
It basically is. Strangely enough, funny enough, which most people don't even know, it's got a wraparound front windshield, wraparound rear windshield because it's got a flat top, just like the GMs did in 1959 and 60. Yeah. It's got the same exact window from a GM. The rear window is a wraparound like you would have on a flat top, 59 and 60, and the front window is the same window. It fits exactly. Here's another funny fact. The 1960 Mercury grille, which is, it's got the two sets of headlights on the front, but they're broken apart. So they're like one headlight's here, one headlight's here.
Right,
and
spacing,
unlike GM's where they were right next to each other. That grille fits in a 1959 Impala perfectly with no modifications. It screws and bolts right in. Wow, so talk about how Ford Mercury took a lot of cues from GM for their Mercury.
Sure.
But it's sitting on the side of my house on a cement slab, just rusting to death because it's such a rare car. Most people have no idea what it is when they look at it because they didn't sell very many. For what reason, I don't know. But it's just a rare car. You don't see them. I'd never seen one before I saw this one. Yeah. And then I looked them up and I can see very few of them around the whole country left. So I don't want to sell it just because it's so rare.
Yeah.
In general, in general.
Yeah.
But I hope I do get it up and running so I can drive it again.
Just to have it out. Yeah,
because I love classic cars and I love showing them off.
That was funny. A couple of weeks ago, I was with my wife and I were heading out to see some friends, and Charger comes flying by me, 68 Charger. Oh, nice. Yeah, it was sweet. I said to my wife, "Well, we're gonna catch up to the next light." She says, "Oh, okay." I pull up to it. I leaned over to tell the guy how nice it was. I looked in, and here was an old friend of mine from grade school.
Oh wow,
Him and
that's
his wife
cool.
were at. Him and his wife were at, and it was a Charger RT actually.
Oh,
Had white stripes over the rear fenders. I said, "Man, that looks great." And he says, "Thanks." And quick chat, and off we went. But it was really wild, out of the blue. I never expected to see
right.
somebody I knew in the car, especially
Well, see,
considering. Well, he was a gearhead back when we were kids, so.
and going back to the model car side of what we're talking about, that's why 90% of everything you see me build is classic car related, because I'm a huge classic car guy. I don't really care for new cars. I do like that dubbed look where you put like a 22-inch rim and then kind of lower the car on top of it.
Okay.
I don't like that donk look where you raise the car up with the
I hate
big
those.
26. That thing looks stupid to me.
Looks
But
like
I
a
love the
four-wheel drive.
lowrider look too. So
Yeah.
the donk look compared to the lowrider look, the complete opposite end where you got a little 13-inch wheels. I love that look only because I grew up on the West Coast where
That was
it was
predominant.
born.
Yeah.
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 And I think if I was probably born on the East Coast in the South where I'm currently at, I probably would like, that whole donk look because it was born on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. And I won't model one either. But
Yeah.
lowriders, hot rods, rat rods,
Well, it's kind of the
custom
same way
cars,
with
I'm
me.
all for that.
I like. That's the other reason I like the '70s more than anything, because there was decent looking cars. Lack of a better way of putting it. I mean,
They
actually,
were
about
still
halfway through.
cars.
Yeah,
They were
they were
still cars in
cars.
the 70s, yeah.
Yeah,
Once you got
about
into the
halfway
80s,
through,
they
three
started
quarters.
turning into
And the
junk.
boxes ugly. And even now, I mean, there's some style in them, but there's not the kind of the lines that we had.
No. I mean, in the 70s, you still had tanks that you were driving with big old
Yeah.
V8s.
Yeah,
The
you had big
80s,
boats.
everything started getting smaller and compact
Yeah.
with 4-cylinder engines. And
Not only
wasn't that
that,
cool?
they took all the big cars and called the next size down that car.
Right. No, they totally did.
They downsized. And it was
Yeah.
like, that ain't the Impala.
Right.
Get over.
Yeah, that's Impala's sister.
Yeah, really. The little sister.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so that's a lot of what I like too. I always did like the '60s and '70s. As far as the automobiles were always fabulous.
Well, I will say most classic car people love that era, 60s and 70s, and that's probably because that was when they were, in their childhood or their teenage years. They loved the muscle car era, and so in the mid 60s to the late 70s is the whole muscle car era.
Right.
And that's what most classic car
No,
people
you think about it too.
love.
You think about this. Also, you think about the car. They went from rear drive to front wheel drive.
Yeah.
Right around the end of 70, 81.
Well, they had that Tornado that was a front wheel drive.
Yeah, that was the only car.
It was the only car.
Tornado and the Eldorado. I think the Eldorado was the same way, wasn't it?
No, Cadillac never made a front wheel car until maybe the 90s.
Okay, I couldn't remember because I know they ran on the same platform. The Eldorado. It was the Eldorado.
Well, Eldorado's Cadillac.
Riviera.
Well, it's still GM, but yeah.
The Eldorado, the Riviera, the Olds, Tornado. You get all four? I don't know what the Chevy version was though.
Well, there was Buick, there was Olds, there was Chevy, and
but the bodies were the Buick, the Cadillac Eldorado.
Oh, the Buick
Oldsmobile Tornado. The Buick.
It was the Chevy. Well, so for instance, Chevy, Pontiac, and Buick all had similar body styles.
Right.
And then if you get onto the other GMs like Cadillac or whatever, they had their own kind of styles, but they're still all the same. They're all tanks.
They all started on the same platform. That was one of the things they always did. They kept the platform the same because it kept costs down.
And then you had
later
the
on, they started keeping more bodies.
Yeah, the Corvair was a one-off rear engine with the with a L-shaped fan belt that was not reliable for nothing.
Yeah.
Although I'd still take one.
I was gonna say, when we were talking about classes, I do like the retros that they did. I did like all the retros. They were cool.
Yeah.
They look kind of neat. It brought back a lot of kind of old memories.
I don't like that. What is it? SSR, HHR. That convertible truck with the huge
SSR
fenders.
was the little pickup. The SSR was a
Yeah.
pickup. The
I didn't
HH,
like that one. I appreciate their trying. I appreciate they thought about let's go back to the 40s with the big fenders,
right?
but I don't think they pulled it off. I
No.
mean, it became an instant classic.
Oh yeah.
It's in
Well,
the
it was
classic,
yeah. Well,
world, but
not only that, it was short lived. They were all short lived
oh
vehicles.
yeah,
You know, they ran
yeah.
productions for 2 years, maybe 3, and they were done. You know, and that was the end of it. So
I mean, the idea was a neat idea to try to do, but yeah.
yeah, it was. So some
But
of that
I
stuff I
like
wish
the
they did in HO.
concepts. I like the older concepts better than these new
Yeah.
retros.
Well, that's with uh no Best of Show? No. Yeah, Best of Show did a lot of those.
Oh, they did. Yes, which I have none of, which I plan on trying to get a lot of.
There's
Because they
about
really
5
did,
of them, I
like the
think, there,
rocket
4 or 5.
cars and whatnot.
They did rocket car. They did that big GM truck, the Futura truck, whatever it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, the Future Liner.
Yeah, the Future Line. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Which
did that. They did a lot of, which is really strange. You know, they're all like,
it is weird that they did these one-off
yeah, but
cars.
it's kind of
It
cool.
really is cool because it gives people that are unaware, uh, you know, these things existed.
Yeah.
Because not
Well, you know, they've
everybody that
forgotten.
collects model cars are necessarily car people. They
Right.
just collect them because they want them on their layouts. They don't really know the origin of where they came from and why they look the way
Yeah.
they do.
Right. So, but yeah, I mean, I know they did a bunch of those, so that's gonna be kind of cool. Collect
Yeah,
them. I haven't gotten them.
like I said, me
I'm just as
neither.
guilty. I got a bunch of the
Yeah,
other vehicles, but I don't have those.
I don't even have a bunch of those other vehicles. I don't. I
You
have
know,
one best to show or two best to show.
what was funny was when I was at St. Louis 2 years ago. Best of Show had released the Doom buggies at that time, and with the hotel we were at, I came out and what was sitting in the parking lot but a Doom buggy. And I
Really?
turned to my wife and I went, "Now I gotta get a Doom buggy."
That's funny.
You know,
So,
it's like in the middle of the United States, you got a Doom buggy. You know,
right.
West Coast, along the coast, yeah, it makes sense. Up by the lakes, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
St. Louis,
Where there's
it
no
turned out to
sand
be
and
something going on. There was a bunch of them.
oh
A
wow,
bunch of them.
no
Yeah.
sand and no way and no surf. There's
No
dune
sand and
buggies.
surf. Just,
Right.
just, just. Well,
Now,
maybe.
now, did they
You
have
say
a
wheat
surfboard
fields.
on top? Did they have a surfboard on
No, it
top?
didn't.
And
No, it didn't. But I was
okay,
gonna say
because
you
that would
have
have
to
looked a
kind of.
little bit more weirder.
Yeah. Well, I
It's
was
already
thinking along
weird
the lines,
enough, but
thinking, wheat fields, maybe. The wind, the waves from the wheat fields. You
maybe take the fin off the back and then tie yourself to a rope and just slide on it.
know.
Who knows?
But yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. I said, I guess I got to have one of those for the layout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they make great
They do.
models, and they're coming out with, or they were coming out with more unique ones.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was.
one of the companies just came out with the '57 Cadillac something that is one of the rarest Cadillacs of all time. It's a
Really?
four-door suicide door Cadillac that came
Okay.
factory that way, and
Right.
they came out with that in 187 scale, and I was like, holy crap, that is awesome. I don't have the
I wonder
money
if that
to
was.
spend to buy that, but I definitely want to get one.
Yeah. Well, I always look at Best of Show. I go in America. I go to American Excellence, is who I usually go to and to check
Right.
out their stuff. And
I can't keep up with the amount of pages they have. I get lost in it.
I used to
Like the
search because I have like 5
yeah,
or 6 of them I go through. I mean, there's so
yeah,
many. There are so many 187 vehicles that are limited production stuff that they do maybe 2 or 3 items and that's it, and they're on their list. And
right. But not in stock because they
yeah,
sold out.
right, exactly. So I kind of limit my ones that I know that are going to have new stuff a lot,
Right.
and
Well, I
they're
want
more
to get
likely
that
to have
little red
American too.
wagon, that
Yeah,
Dodge A-Wagon. I want to get the little red wagon version of it just so I can stick the motor in the back because
you have to.
the model car version doesn't have the motor in the back.
No,
Even though it's
no,
got the paint scheme, it doesn't have the motor in the back. So I
where it
want to get,
belongs. Yeah,
yeah,
well, it was
that's all I
backwards.
want that for. I don't even
Yeah,
like that truck, but because it's a famous truck from
you got to have it.
American history
Yeah, you got to
vehicles,
have it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, the other thing I was looking at, I'm kind of, for whatever the reason is, I don't know why, started looking at the old Aurora race cars. AFX. You might know AFX more so.
Yeah, yeah,
Aurora, slot
yeah,
cars,
yeah.
HOs.
Uh-huh.
They called them HO scale. They were larger than HO. But
Right. No,
I
they're
didn't
Hot Wheel scale.
realize,
That's what they are. They're Hot Wheel scale.
yeah, I didn't realize how many varieties of cars they did of the 60s.
Yeah, I wouldn't
I was,
know. I've never looked into it.
it's unbelievable. They almost had every vehicle covered.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, really?
For slot car racing, you wouldn't think that.
Well, back then, Aurora, I mean, that was, if you bought a slot car in HO, that's who you bought.
Right,
It
but
was,
I mean, like with
but
Hot Wheels being out, with
yeah, but
trains and RC cars that weren't nearly as advanced as they are today, but with other hobby car
yeah,
related stuff, you wouldn't think that they would have had every vehicle for slot car hobby.
it is
But
amazing on how many different vehicles they made in HO scale. I was just floored when I started looking at the cars they made. I just couldn't believe it. But the only thing they didn't do were station wagons. But they did almost
right.
every coupe, almost every sports car. Um, and just I was like, wow, you know.
Well, that's funny you say about station wagons because I'm a huge station wagon lover. I
Mm-hmm.
love it because it's in the car world, it's the most overlooked car.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of people hate four doors because two doors are always better.
Right.
And two doors have been played out forever on muscle cars, classic cars, anything and everything. So the station wagon is
They are
like the
hard
third
touch
on the list. Yeah. And so
if it makes
anytime
the
I
list.
see it, right. Anytime I see it, I instantly see possibilities of what I can make it look better and bring back the whole grandma grandpa station wagon
Right.
into
Well,
new
that's like
life
when
version.
Neo did their Chrysler wagon, the Fury.
Yeah. On
Oh
Sega
man, my
night, that
dad had one
wagon.
of those. My dad had a Grand Fury, and when he bought it, he bought cars from the same dealer every 2 years.
Oh
And the guy
wow.
would go in, drop the car off, say, "I'll take that car there." And Mike would tell their lot attendant, "Get that car ready for Ed and let him take it home tonight. Come back tomorrow with the paperwork." And he would literally
Nice.
take the car home. Well, he bought this Grand Fury. He had about a half an inch on either side of the car to get it in the garage.
Meaning he wasn't getting out of the door if he was getting it in the garage.
Well, he went through once you got in the garage, you were okay. But to get through the door, the garage door, he had
Oh,
about
I
a half
got
an
you.
inch on either side of the car to get through the garage door into the garage.
That makes sense because the garage is wider than the door. Yeah. I
You
get
know, and he told Mike, he said, "If I can't get it in the garage, I'm bringing it back, Mike, because I didn't do any good."
Right.
But he got that thing in there, and I remember that car so well. How many times he just wheeled that sucking boat in there? I mean, that was a boat. There's no other
Yeah.
way.
Oh, yeah. Definitely was.
A land yacht, as they like to call them.
Yeah. That's
But
funny
that
because
was I always liked that car. I always thought that was
I
neat.
I had a '62 Cadillac a little while ago, or a couple years ago, and that thing in a modern day house garage. Our house is only 12 years old. In a modern day house garage, from the back wall to the garage door, I had 1 inch to spare. And the back bumper and pretty much the fin of the tail light fin of the 62 was hitting the back wall, why the front bumper for the garage door had 1 inch.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah,
thought, this thing is like 23 feet long.
yeah.
It's a
You wouldn't realize how
lanyard.
big they are. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't realize how small your garage is. It
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
seem
true.
small
Well, it's
because
because
of
all the
what we
cars are
have
smaller.
today. Yeah,
That's all the
exactly.
cars. And what's funny about that is I started collecting a lot of Bachman buildings, the old Plasticville stuff.
Hmm.
And I said, well, I thought I liked the old ranch house they did.
Yeah.
The little
Yeah.
ranch.
I think everybody has that.
Well, we all had them, and
Yeah.
I've managed to collect a few colors so I can do
Mhm.
the typical setup. So I went and got an HO car, and I went to put it in the garage. It don't fit.
Right.
The house is 1/8. It's not HO. It's 1/8.
Yeah.
It's smaller.
I've got this
Yeah.
thing right here. I don't know who
There you go.
makes it. It was, oh, well, the thing's on the bottom. But yeah, the garage door is
Yeah.
you stick a car in there and the car's at the top of the door.
Yeah. Well,
It
this one
wouldn't be
had the
like that in real
height.
life.
This one had the height, but it didn't have the length. So the
Well,
back end of the car was sticking out.
I don't think I think this length isn't the whole garage. I don't know
That's
what
about the
that
right
is.
size for one, though. That looks
Yeah,
to be pretty
but
close.
I almost think that there's like a tool shed behind there or something.
Well, the way they have it set up, yeah.
Right,
And moved it
because
forward, it would look about right. But
yeah, yeah, I don't know. But yeah,
I
but
was
here's what's
surprised when
funny
I saw
too.
that.
Joseph Bivens made a scale model of the Back to the Future house for Marty's
Right.
house.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's pretty to scale. I mean, he did it all by eyeball, so obviously it's not perfect and exact, which
Right.
I don't care because it looks to
It looks
scale
right.
in every aspect
Right.
that I needed it. But the garage is pretty to scale, and I don't know that you could drive that black pickup truck into
Speaking of
it
that black pickup
without
truck,
setting it in there before you put it on the ground because the light bar would be too high for the garage door.
Hot Wheels did a Nissan or a Dodge, quote unquote,
Yes.
not Dodge, Nissan
Toyota.
or Datsun,
Oh, yes, they did.
4-wheel drive pickup.
Hmm. They did. No, they
Real close to HO.
Hot Wheels actually makes the Toyota Helix is what it is, a Toyota Helix
I
85
didn't remember what that one
from
was.
the movie.
Okay.
They make
The
that
one I
in
remember is it was green.
1/64 scale.
Well, the one I'm thinking of was HO. It was real close to HO. And it
Oh,
was green. And I'll be damned if I know where it's at.
well, I don't want it anyways. I want the Toyota version. So Joseph actually also found a file of that Toyota, but it's not 1/87 scale. So he said he's going to try to scale it down, and we'll see what happens. But
It's always
it's
a
been a
shot.
little while, and I'm not in any hurry because
Yeah, whatever.
yeah,
It's a hobby. It's not a
right,
business. You know,
yeah,
it's not like you
exactly.
have
I'm
to
not
deliver it to
trying to
somebody.
sell them. So yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so you don't worry about it. You know,
Right.
I'd say, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
So,
and the things that I do have to build for people, and they're in progress. So, I give them a
updates.
timeline and, it is what
Right.
it is. But yeah, if I'm building for myself, I try to build fast because I start to lose interest in
Yeah.
something that isn't done in a relatively decent time that
Yeah,
I
with that,
set for myself.
I ran across something the other day that I hadn't touched. What the hell was I working on? Which is a habit I have too. I'll start building something, and I'll get bored. I'll just put it off to the side, and I'll forget about it.
Right. That's my problem, and that's why I need to finish it before that
You know,
happens.
and I'll move it away. I'll put it in a box. I'll whatever, and I'll forget completely
Right.
about it.
Yeah.
And I'll be looking for something unrelated. Open the box up and go, oh damn, I forgot I had this.
Right.
Put it back
Yeah.
on the desk so I get to it. So I remember to finish it. You know.
Yeah. Well,
And there's
that's
a
my
lot of
problem.
times too. There's a lot of times along that line where I'll get to a point I'm not exactly sure how I want to make that next step. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to put it away for now, and I'll get back to it.
Right.
Just leave it sit there. Or I need a part is the other thing too. So.
Well, here's what's funny. I've been saying this on a couple podcasts because I'm still stuck in doing this. But I was building my ultimate garage, custom
Right.
car garage, and I ran into lighting issues, and it was like the start of my work week where I wasn't going to get to Hobby Lobby or Michael's to go get more light. So I said, let me look into what I have already to build. And so I started building a regular size model car, 1/25th scale model car. 2 months later, still haven't got back to my module, my building, and I've built 4 1/25th scale cars, and I'm like immersing myself into this damn scale, and it's driving me crazy because I want to get back to it, but I'm already halfway into this thing, and I don't want to stop because then I might not get back to that thing. And then, yeah, I haven't touched a 1/87 scale car in about 2 months, and it's kind of driving me crazy because I got stuff lined up. The stuff I have built for customers are being sent off to East Coast Circuit, so I'm not worried about that stuff until they're done. I can't do nothing with it anyway.
Right.
So, but yeah, my personal stuff has been put on the back burner thanks to the other scale crap I got laying around that I've
Yeah,
immersed myself into.
yeah. Well, same. That's what happens here. I'll be pushing. Heck, this. I don't know if you can see them or not. Can you see the?
Yeah.
These have been sitting on the flat car for 2 years.
What are those?
They're International Harvester
Oh,
combines
okay. Okay,
that I
okay.
took. I shrunk these down from Ertls.
Wow. So
Yeah,
they
they were
were bigger
big.
then.
They were big. Um, I didn't like any ones I saw because they were everyone the like the one Walther's, which is a Keybri kit, has the curved glass, so that puts it into the 80s. Mine's in the 70s.
Oh,
Mine has the flat glass. The front windows, because they all curved later on, and that's flat. Um, Plus, when I started researching, there's so many things I didn't realize it was wrong on the car on them after I got the mold, the castings done and all. It's like I'm not going back and recasting these things, making new molds. Forget it. I'll just work with 2, and I'm not done.
right.
But yeah, I just, I do that. I got a while back ago. I showed a load of international cargo stores I was doing. I just looked over on my display case. They're sitting over there. I got to get back to finishing those. I got bored and I put them off to the side.
Well, so not to knock your castings down, but when you gave me that station wagon, I said this isn't my era that I like building. I have no idea what to do with this. I love the fact it's a station wagon. So I think it took me a year to finally get to it. And then I still couldn't figure out what the hell to do with it. So I pretty much kind of just built it stock.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't want to. I wanted to make it some cool
Something different.
custom, but
Right.
I don't know what the heck to do to that car. So
Really
I just
wasn't much
built it
they
to
did with the
build
Vegas.
it.
They did a lot of dragsters with it. I mean, that was the one thing they did an awful lot with that car, was
Oh,
dragsters.
why didn't I just talk to you before I built it? Now I want to take that all apart and make a dragster out of it. Because you're right. That is exactly what they did with those cars. That's like the only thing they did. If you didn't leave it stock, you built a drag car out of it. That's all you did.
The Vegas were done. That's it. The Vegas were put big block engines in them suckers.
Right.
And they turned
Which
them into
you
little
do.
pocket rockets like you wouldn't believe. And they burned rubber too.
Why
Big
didn't I
ass
think of that?
rubber
it's
tires on the
80s.
back.
Yeah, because it's an 80s car. I don't think anything about the 80s because they're all like just junk vehicles to me. But
No,
yeah,
that's a 70s car. Vegas is 70s.
late, is it? See, my genre
Yeah,
is
because the
65 and lower or before.
Yeah, well,
That's my era.
the Vega came in, was built in Lordstown,
It,
Ohio,
it
is where
looks
it was
like an
built.
80s car, an
Yeah,
early to
no,
mid 80s.
it's 71 or 72, something like
kidding?
that. Huh?
What?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, because they built the Vertipacks for them. Actually, it might have been back, yeah, 71 or 72.
I don't know where I have that car.
But they built the Vertipacks that Mike's work. Actually just did a bunch of them. He did that Vertipack.
Right.
With
Mike's crazy.
Yeah.
I love his willingness to build every single version of those. I don't think I can do it though. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can do it. I can build every single version of an Impala 100 times and never get tired of it, but that's my love. I love Impalas.
Well, if you have the passion to do that one item, I mean, Mike just loves to do all those, any GM car. You get the GM car, I think he'll do it. I don't know about any of the other ones so much.
I went to his house and he has like probably what it looked like. He had like 5 auto racks full of vans.
Oh yeah,
those talent vans. Like, what do they have all these vans for?
Because that's where they were built right there. They were built in St. Louis. That's why.
Oh, well, that's why. Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
Most of the stuff he has was built in and around St. Louis for the most part. I mean, he did like I don't think the AMCs were built there, but a lot of the GM stuff that he does were all built in that area in St. Louis because they came out of the St. Louis plants. So, but
want to hear an interesting fact? Not model car related, but car related. I went to this history teacher. I want to say he's a history teacher. He taught history of something at Duke College, which is down the street from my house. And he had all these antiques in his house that all worked, like phones from the 1800s that he got to work, and just old furniture and all that. He loved the historical side of furniture
Right.
and whatever. So his house is like a museum, and I walk through and he starts telling me all about it. And I was a technician for the cable company. That's why I went to his house.
Okay.
Anyways,
Right.
at the end of my little history lesson that he's telling me about all his stuff, he says, I got one last thing. In his garage, he's got a 1912 model, whatever it is, Ford. Model A, I think it was a
Was that a T?
Model T.
Maybe a
Maybe
T.
it was even before T. Who knows? It was a
Yeah.
1912. And he says, now I live in the city of Durham in North Carolina. He says, it was born in Durham and never left Durham its whole life.
Wow.
He said back in 1912, Durham had a Model T, whatever, factory. It was a small one, but they built Fords in Durham, North Carolina. I was
We
like,
have one
I
here in Pittsburgh,
never
too.
knew that.
We had one here in Pittsburgh too.
Well, you're closer to Detroit, so there should be a whole bunch of factories all over the Northeast in that
It was
section.
really
you would
interesting though,
think.
because this one, our factory was built on a hillside. It loaded the freight cars in the valley.
Oh wow!
It was actually on the Pennsy Main Line through the city of Pittsburgh, and it was 3 stories high, I think, and then like 2 stories or 3 stories down into the valley. And they would build the cars up top and work them down and load them into the freight cars down in the bottom.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's actually they turned it into like a pseudo museum for the Ford, with
Good.
medical
They
offices
should.
and stuff like that, because
Yeah.
it's part of the University of Pittsburgh's their UPMC medical services.
Wow.
But
Well,
yeah,
the
it was
Durham
kind
one
of neat.
doesn't even exist anymore. Like the
Yeah.
building isn't even there apparently.
Well, it still has. If you would look at the building, you could still see the Ford marquee on it and everything else.
That's
They
awesome.
didn't
Well,
take any of that down, which was cool.
Antique archaeology, American Pickers did that with their Nashville building. They took over an old car
Yeah, I saw that.
building. Yeah,
Yeah,
we went there.
actually, they hired
Going
the
to
guy
St.
that owned it.
Louis.
If I remember correctly, the guy that actually owned it, he was a
Yeah.
car guy, and they
We
actually
went
hired
there.
him to work on the cars.
Yeah. We went there twice going to St. Louis or coming back from St. Louis. We'd stop by in there, and the whole building is awesome. Like the
I love
first year
stuff
we
like
were
that.
there, they were the only company in that whole entire building. The
Right.
next year we were there, last year, whole building's full because of antique archaeology being in there.
Yeah.
And it's just full of a bunch of stupid little stores that nobody cares about, but it's a tourist trap now.
Yeah.
Because of
Well,
all the little tiny mom pops that opened in there.
I was so glad when Walthers brought out that classic dealership, even though it's a Ford dealership, but
it's cool.
It's
awesome.
It is the Art Deco style dealership that was
Right.
around for everybody.
Yeah.
They all had
it's
that
a really
basic
neat
style.
kit.
Yeah.
I would.
I want to get one. I haven't done it yet.
Yeah. I almost want it, but then I wouldn't. I don't know what I'd do with it. I guess
Convert it
if
to
I
a
did
Chevy
anything,
dealership.
well, I mean, no, I like it as it is though, but I don't. It's I guess newer than what I want to build a diorama or a module for.
Oh, that would fit in the 40s and 50s. That style.
Is that the kit, or maybe I'm thinking?
Now
of
they had a
kit.
modern one too. They have 2 now. Well, they actually have 3.
I'm probably thinking of a modern one. I'm
They did a
thinking of the
modern one,
one that
which-
Joe Fay did. Joe Fay made a whole
No,
entire
this is-
dealership module with a Ford dealership.
I had mine. I don't display it anymore. I had a full dealership with all the castings for Ford that I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
See,
I
that's
had
a big diorama or a big set because you
Well,
can't
that
just build.
What, 30 inches by 30 inches?
Yeah, you can't build like a 12-inch by 12-inch dealership. It doesn't exist.
Well, that one I'm talking about does, because that one was meant for a city scene.
Well, I mean, even with the parking lot full of the cars,
you could put a small parking lot right next to it. Yeah.
For
if
the
you
50s.
look at that building,
That's what you're talking about. 40s and 50s. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, it's an Art Deco building, not a modern one. It's an Art Deco.
I know.
They just released it.
Picture it for some reason.
Go back
I
and
know
look
I've
into
seen it,
Walthers. Actually, it shows up a lot on Facebook.
Right.
Um,
That's why I know I've seen it. I just for some reason I can't
but
picture it.
it's a white enamel front building, which is the Art Deco style, with red brick back, and that's it. And
See, that would be the only dealership I'd probably want to build in, is something from that era, because
yeah.
they
Because
made such
I
better
took
looking stuff.
can't see it here, but I took Jimmy Sackos from City Classic, who's a friend of mine here. Um, I had told him I wanted to do I always loved his grocery store he did, the corner store,
Hmm.
because it's that style. And there was actually a dealership here in Pittsburgh that it was very similar to that, but bigger. And I kept telling him I wanted to build a dealership similar to what that was. So one day I was over at the house and he handed me a box of parts. So I took it
Nice.
home and built a dealership. But
That's cool.
yeah, I mean, it's probably about that big, 15 inches, 18 inches wide, you know, nice big
Well,
dealership.
it's funny that you say dealership because I don't want to necessarily build a dealership like bad. I wouldn't mind doing it, but
I think
what
it'd be
I really
cool.
want to build, I want to build a museum building that's like 4 stories high
Oh,
and
okay.
maybe a foot thick and 2 foot wide, and then have the glass mirror at the very back so it looks double the width.
Right.
Just
Double on.
stick cars all up on each floor, museum quality. Why I want
Very
to
cool.
build that, I have no idea, but I've been having it in my head for like
Well, I was going to say
years
there's
now.
a couple yeah, there's a couple custom car houses around here that um, are in actually old auto dealerships. So the showrooms have the custom cars that they've done on
Right,
display.
which makes
And I was
sense
going to
because they
say
should.
that dealership that I'm talking about, the new one from Walters, would really work for you and your custom cars that you do, because you could
Yeah.
set them in there and be kind of cool if you could set up with a turntable.
Well, so that's what's funny. That's why I was building my ultimate car garage, because in one part, in the front part where you would walk in, is a showroom.
Great.
And then in the back, there's like a bike and photo shoot place where once you finish a car, you can take professional
Okay.
photo shoots.
Right.
And then in the backside is the whole like auto part, customizing area.
Oh, okay.
That was the vision for it. So I have a setup in there where I'm going to have a few classic custom cars sit, obviously,
Right.
to show off what, I can build or whatever. And then that's going to sit in the middle of a module that I'm going to have a parking lot on both sides of. And then
Hmm.
both sides of the module will have all the cars sitting in the driveway,
Okay.
parking lot of, advertisement,
Hmm.
like a regular building you would drive by
Hmm.
or whatever. So I have the idea, but I want to build a museum. I don't know. I really don't know why. I just do. Because I
Back,
don't,
we all have those. We have those things in the back of our heads that just
yeah,
lay back there and
right. Well,
fester.
so Ken Hamilton years ago, 10 years ago, did a car cruise, had people from all over the world send in 187 scale hot rods
Oh,
customs
I
and
remember that.
whatever. Yeah, he's never going to do another one. I think
Mm.
he said it was him and his wife that set it all up, and that was the initials of the car cruise, was his initial and her initial. And he's never going to do another one. And I want to pick up where
Where
he
he left
left
off.
off and create one. So
Mhm.
another idea, this is going to happen. I want to build like a
Well,
2x4 module, just a full parking lot, a
mhm.
modern day parking lot, and it's just going to be for car shows. So
Would
like
be
you can have
cool to
diesel
do that at
trucks.
the.
You, yeah,
I was gonna say, it'd be cool if we could arrange something like that for one of the meets.
right. Well, that's kind of what I want. I want, as soon
You
as
know,
that module
all of
gets
us
done, I want to
pick
start
one vehicle.
creating like maybe stickers for anybody that participates in it, that sends cars. I want to do a full photo shoot
Mhm.
of exactly what he did with his car show. Like he had the cars set up as they were cruising into the venue, and then a
Right.
car wash section, a burnout section. I want to have a whole thing. Like you send me your
Mhm.
car or something, and everybody sends it at the same time, and I keep it for like a month or something, and I set up all different scenes
Yeah,
of stuff happening, and do the next venture, the modern venture of what
that'd
he
be cool.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of do a dedication to what he did in a
Right.
more modern day setup. Still have
Okay.
classic cars, but like the street lights shining over, so you pulled in during the morning hours and it went on to the evening hours and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
That'd be cool to take. That'd be cool if you could do it over at Ken's place up on the bluff,
right.
where
Yeah.
you could catch a morning sunrise and then
Yeah.
and a night sunset behind it.
I
Now,
might
that'd be
have to.
awesome.
What I might do. I might go to RPM meet one year, drop it off, say, Ken, here's all the vehicles. I told all the participants you're not getting your car back for a whole nother year, and then I'd come back the next year and pick it up. Because he's not going to mail that. There's no way to
Him and
mail
Mike would
that
have a
big old
field day.
box. Yeah.
Him and Mike would have a field day for that one. That's for certain.
Right.
But that'd be a cool idea.
Yeah,
You know,
it's been
something different.
I've been ever since he joined that hot rod rat rod group that I made, and he posted that years ago. I fell completely in love with the idea, and I've been wanting to do something ever
Hmm.
since then. And
Yeah.
I just haven't built the stupid module yet, and I'm going to just
Like everything
one
else.
day.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not like it's dire necessity. It has to be done tomorrow, you know?
Right, exactly. Exactly.
It's a hobby. It's a
And I
hobby,
and I
remember?
and instead of building the parking lot, I started building my ultimate car garage, and I probably should have started building the parking lot first, but who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is you'll be walking somewhere and see the right size piece of wood or whatever. Okay, that's what I need,
Right.
and that'll start it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's what
It's
always
gonna
happens.
happen.
So. But anyway,
But
well, I'm gonna have to call it to a close.
yeah,
I gotta
it's
get up
9
here.
o'clock.
Yeah, I gotta get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work. So
Well, I gotta get up at 5, so I feel your pain.
yeah,
That's cool, Greg.
thanks
Uh,
for the invite, and I hope
yeah,
you
this is
enjoy it.
awesome. Yeah,
You
we'll
know?
have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, next time now that I know how to do this, I'll
Yeah.
get some vehicles together and we can post some, show some vehicles and stuff like that. A
Yeah.
little more in depth, I think, of
Well,
some of the
I'm
craziness.
planning on doing a season 2 whenever this season comes to a wrap, whenever that might be. And I'm
Maybe.
going to go right back through the lineup of people I already did and ask them if they want to do it again. So
Yeah.
you
Well,
definitely be on the
I'll be
list.
more than happy to do it again. Like I said, I
Yeah,
have an idea now. I can maybe get myself set up a little bit better, so we
right.
have some more
And
stuff to show.
at
And
the
stuff
next
like
show, I plan on doing individual quick interviews too. Like
okay.
we're at the
Yeah.
RPM meet. This is Greg Dixon. This, whatever. I don't know. That's a plan. If and
Well,
when the next meet that we can all get up to
too.
will
Yeah.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like a plan.
All right, Greg.
Be well. Be
It
safe.
was great talking to you. If
Same
you
here.
hold on 1 second, I'll end this podcast and then I'll give you a proper goodbye or whatever. But
Okay.
everybody out there in YouTube, Greg Dixon was the guest. I hope you liked this interview. I enjoyed it. Y'all have a great night.